All right, English students, this is part two of the Odyssey, the Cyclops reading slash analysis slash interpretation slash hope this helps you understand the story a little better. I had to end at the previous section because I needed to stop to do something else real quick, but it was already a 20-minute video, so I figured that is a good break anyways. Like I said, this is a long story. So I probably will stop this one before I get to the end too, just so you don't have to sit through a 2 hour video all at once. Maybe do them in like 20-minute increments. So when we left off, Odysseus and his crew were in the cave of the Cyclops because Odysseus was curious of what manner of creature or being these Cyclops were like. He wanted to see them up close. And they were in the cave when the Cyclops showed up, and the Cyclops put a boulder, a huge stone slab, at the entrance, blocking the exit from the cave. So Odysseus is stuck in there with his men and this giant Cyclops. And the last thing we read was the Cyclops turned around, and in the glare, he saw us. So the Cyclops now knows that Odysseus and his men are in his cave. Let's see how it goes. Excuse me. Strangers, he said, who are you and where from? What brings you here by seaways? A fair traffic? Or are you wandering rogues who cast your lives like dice and ravage other folk by sea? We felt a pressure on our hearts and dread of that deep rumble and that mighty man, but all the same I spoke in reply. So this is Odysseus speaking, replying to the Cyclops. We are from Troy, Achaeans, blown off course by shifting gales on the great South Sea, homeward bound, but taking routes and ways uncommon, so the will of Zeus would have it. We served under Agamemnon, son of Atreus. The whole world knows what city he laid waste, what armies he destroyed. All right, so this is a direct reference, if you want to call it an allusion, to the Aeneid, to the events of the Aeneid. This is a reference to the Trojan War. We served under Agamemnon. I could always stumble on that name. Agamemnon was the leader of the Greek forces during the Trojan War. He and his men sacked the city of Troy. Okay, so anyone that had read or was familiar with the Iliad would know this reference. It was our luck to come here. Here we stand, beholden for your help, or any gifts you give, as custom is to honor strangers. Remember, one of the big kind of themes of the story is the theme of hospitality, of proper protocol when you have a stranger come into your land or your home, and proper protocol that you should display for your host if you were a stranger in a strange land. Um, One of the I don't know if you recall one of the videos we watched. They talked about how the Greeks, one reason they would part of their custom was to treat strangers with kindness and welcome them to their home, and give them food and shelter. Is that they you never knew when one of the strangers who came into your home was actually a god in disguise, and you did not want to anger the gods. So Odysseus is kind of playing on that, hoping that the Cyclops share that same cultural custom of hospitality, of treating strangers with kindness when they come into your home. It's kind of banking on it, if you will. We would entreat you, great sir, have a care for the gods' courtesy. Zeus will avenge the unoffending guest. Little note here. And it says hospitality was an important value to the Greeks. Odysseus is saying that Zeus will be angered if guests who have done no harm are treated badly. All right, so let's see if that works on the good old Cyclops here. I was a better man, I'd probably say no. He answered this from his brute chest unmoved. You are a ninny. Oh, what's a ninny? Probably not a good thing. You're a fool. You are a ninny, or else you come from the other end of nowhere. Telling me, mind the gods, we Cyclopes care not a whistle for your thundering Zeus, or all the gods in bliss. We have more force by far. I would not let you go for fear of Zeus, you or your friends, unless I had a whim to. Tell me, where was it now you left your ship? Around the point or down the shore, I wonder. So he's curious where the ship is. Probably information Odysseus doesn't want him to know. He thought he'd find out, but I saw through this and answered with a ready lie. So this is where one thing about Odysseus is that he's a cunning, wily warrior. He's an intelligent warrior. He's actually admired by the Greeks for being the thinking man's hero, if you will. Remember, this was the same man who came up with the idea of the Trojan horse, and it's that idea that won the Trojan War that allowed the Greeks to actually break into the city of Troy and win that war. So Odysseus is a clever man when it comes to trying to think his way out of a problem like this. So he's getting ready to do a little lie, which you could say is an example of verbal irony, which is when a character says one thing but means another. Sorry, I had to have a little drink there. A little sip of water. My ship, Poseidon Lord, who sets the earth a tremble, broke it up on the rocks at your land's end. A wind from seaward served him, drove us there. We are survivors, these good men and I. Neither reply nor pity came from him, but in one stride he clutched at my companions and caught two in his hands like squirming puppies, to beat their brains out, spattering the floor. Then he dismembered them and made his meal, gaping and crunching like a mountain lion. Everything, innards, flesh, and marrow, bones. Oh, this took a violent turn suddenly, this is just he's thinking, he's like, all right, I'm going to lie my way out of this. And then, just without warning, Cyclops just grabs two of his men and bashes their brains out and then just eats them right there in front of everybody. Odysseus is like powerless to do anything at this point because this creature is so much bigger than they are. So, a question for you. Why does Odysseus lie and say that he and his men are the victims of a shipwreck? I'm sure you can figure that out, and you will when you come back to the story and answer that question on your own. We cried aloud, lifting our hands to Zeus, powerless, looking on at this, appalled. But Cyclops went on filling up his belly with man flesh and great gulps of whey. Then lay down like a mass among his sheep. My heart beat high now at the chance of action. And drawing the sharp sword from my hip, I went along his flank to stab him where the midriff holds the liver. So Odysseus wants revenge. Flank his side, just so you know. I had touched the spot when sudden fear stayed me. If I killed him, we perished there as well, for we could never move his ponderous doorway slab aside. So we were left to groan and wait for morning. All right. So this is another example of Odysseus um, thinking ahead, being thinking before acting. This is one of the key messages or themes of a lot of these chapters in the Odyssey is don't act hastily. You need to think before you act because your actions have consequences. The Cyclops has what does he say? He lays down and he's taking a nap, right? He eats these two men, he drinks, he swallows them whole, eats them, and then he drinks down a whey, which I believe is like a type of milk, and he falls asleep. And while the Cyclops is asleep, Odysseus instinctively wants to take a sword and go up to the liver of this Cyclops and stab him and just like kill him for killing his men. But then he stops. And he's like, "Yo, if I do this, we're trapped here because we aren't. Remember they have that stone slab blocking the exit. They would not be able to get out of this." So you can look at the picture here if you're able to see that. Odysseus and his men are in a cave like this one where the Cyclops lives, except, instead of a bunch of rocks like that, it's like one big slab, stone slab that's blocking it, and Odysseus and his men are not physically able to move that. So they can't kill the Cyclops yet because they probably are going to need the Cyclops to move that slab for them. So they have a dilemma here. So we were left to groan and wait for morning. When the young dawn, with fingertips of rose, lit up the world. What a beautiful way to describe the sunrise. So poetic. I guess that's why it's an epic poem. When the young dawn, with fingertips of rose, lit up the world, Cyclops built a fire and milked his handsome ewes, all in due order, putting the sucklings to their mothers. Then his chores being all dispatched, he caught another brace of men to make his breakfast, and whisked away his great door slab to let the sheep go through. But he, behind, reset the stone as one would cap a quiver. There was a din of whistling as the Cyclops rounded his flock for higher ground, then stillness. And now I pondered how to hurt him worse. If but Athena granted what I prayed for, here are the means I thought would serve my turn. So Odysseus, he sees that the Cyclops, lets his moves the stone slab in the morning to let the sheep go out, but he puts the stone slab back in, trapping them in again. So Odysseus needs to think. He's trying to figure out what do I need to do to get that stone slab moved, but at the same time give us opportunity to get away from this creature without being caught, because this creature, Cyclops, he's just eating men left and right. It says in the morning he caught another brace of men to make his breakfast. Brace is a pair. So he's like, I guess it's like donuts. You kind of don't just eat one, you eat two. So he's got to eat his pair of men every morning. A club or staff lay there along the fold, an olive tree felled green and left to season for Cyclops' hand, and it was like a mast, a lugger of 20 oars, broad in the beam, a deep sea-going craft might carry. So long, so big around it seemed. Now I chopped out a 6-foot section of this pole and set it down before my men, who scraped it. So in the cave, so there's one thing Odysseus does. He looks around the cave. He's like, what in this cave can I use to hurt this Cyclops? Doesn't want to kill him. He can't kill him. Not as long as they're trapped in the cave, but he needs to do something to level that playing field. He needs to do something to wound or hurt this Cyclops. So he looks around, and there's like a big branch, like an olive tree branch, that's laying there. A big one. It's like big enough for a mast of a ship. So Odysseus gets that big branch and he cuts it to a 6-foot section, and then he tells his men to start scraping it down. And when they had it smooth, I hewed again to make a stake with pointed end. So they get this olive branch, they carve it and whittle it down until it's a stake with a pointed end, kind of like what you're seeing here. They made a very sharp instrument there. I held this in the fire's heart and turned it, toughening it, then hid it well back in the cavern, under one of the dung piles in the profusion there. Now came the time to toss for it. Who ventured along with me? Whose hand could bear to thrust and grind that spike in Cyclops's eye when mild sleep had mastered him? As luck would have it, the men I would have chosen one to toss, 4 strong men, and I made 5 as captain. So the plan is when the Cyclops goes to sleep again, they're going to take this very large wooden spike that they made, and they put the end in a fire, the fire that's cooking in the cave, got it nice and hot and tough, and they're going to thrust it in the Cyclops' eye. They're going to blind him, not kill him, but they are severely going to level the playing field. They're going to blind him. At evening came the shepherd with his flock, his woolly flock, the rams as well this time, entered the cave by some sheep herding whim, or a God's bidding. None were left outside. He hefted his great boulder into place and set him down to milk the bleeding ewes in proper order, put the lambs to suck, and swiftly ran through all his evening chores. Then he caught two more men and feasted on them. My moment was at hand, and I went forward, holding an ivy bowl on my dark drink, looking up and saying, Cyclops, try some wine. Because remember, Odysseus, when they first were coming over to the island here, he brought wine with him. He brought some liquor because that was going to be one of the things that he presented to his host as part of the hospitality. You give and receive gifts, and he had wine, so he was going to offer it to the whoever the Cyclops that he got here as part of a friendly, peaceful truce offering, if you will. However, he's not doing this. He's got the wine still, but he's not offering the wine now as some hospitality gesture or some kind of friendly gesture. He's offering it because he's going to use it to his plans. Remember, he needs the Cyclops to go to sleep. Odysseus attends to impair the Cyclops' judgment by giving him the potent wine first, described in line 100. Here's the liquor to wash down your scraps of men. Taste it and see the kind of drink we carried under our plates. I meant it for an offering if you would help us home, but you are mad, unbearable, a bloody monster. After this, will any other traveler come to see you? Next page. He seized and drained the bowl, and it went down so fiery and smooth he called for more. Give me another, thank you kindly. Tell me, how are you called? I'll make a gift will please you. Even Cyclops know the wine grapes grow out of grassland and loam and heaven's rain. But here's a bit of nectar and ambrosia. The food of the gods. Those gods eat well. 3 bowls I brought him, and he poured them down. I saw the fuddle and flush come over him. Then I sung out in cordial tones. So fuddle and flush indicates, like the effect that the wine is having on the Cyclops. He's starting to, for lack of a better term, he's starting to become intoxicated. He's starting to get drunk here. Cyclops, you asked my honorable name. Remember the gift you promised me? And I shall tell you, my name is Nobody. Mother, father, and friends, everybody calls me Nobody. Nobody.
Why does Odysseus tell the Cyclops that his name is Nobody? Here's what you Odysseus to make.
So, Odysseus, the way it's spelled, it's like nobody, but it's really like it sounds in a lot of versions of it. He says nobody. I've heard it say, "My name is no man" or "no one." But the point is, Odysseus is not giving away his real name. He's lying once again to the Cyclops. Now, why would he do this? Well, one thing is you don't need to give your enemy any more information than they need, and perhaps just keeping his name a secret will be to his benefit. either way, Odysseus is not telling the truth here. He lies about his name to the Cyclops. And he said, "Nobody's my meat. Then, after I eat his friends, others come first. There is a noble gift now." Well, that's a nice gift. You're going to be the last one I eat. That's the gift the Cyclops is going to give to Odysseus. How kind of him. Even as he spoke, he reeled and tumbled backward, his great head lolling to one side in sleep, and sleep took him like any creature. Drunk, hiccuping, he dribbled streams of liquor and bits of men. Ugh, nastiness, right? Now, by the gods, I drove my big hand spike deep in the embers, charring it again, and cheered my men along with battle talk to keep their courage up. No quitting now. The pike of olive green though it had been. I'm sorry, let me back up. The pike of olive, green though it had been, reddened and glowed as if we were about to catch. I drew it from the coals of my four fellows. I'm sorry, I messed up here. I drew it from the coals, and my four fellows gave me a hand, lugging it near the Cyclops, as more than natural force nerved them. Straight forward they sprinted, lifted it, and rammed it deep in his crater eye. And I leaned on it, turning it as a shipwright turns a drill, and planking having men below to swing the two-handled strap that spins in the groove. So with our brand we bored the great eye socket, while blood ran out around the red-hot bar. Eyelid and lash were seared, the pierced ball hissed, broiling, and the roots popped. Now that is some intense, very violent, and very disturbing description. While the Cyclops is sleeping, they go and they put um, that sharp pointed end of that big wooden staff into the fire again, into the embers again, and they get it real hot again. And then they get up there, and five men, all holding that thing over the Cyclops, they just ram that thing into his eye. Okay, sorry, there might be a little gap there. Sorry, my daughter came in and interrupted me. I was talking about how the five men were all working together, and they just drove this hot wooden uh, you know spear, wooden stake into the Cyclops' eye. And just the description of it, how they do it, they plunge it in there and they just twist it, and it pops the eye, and the blood's running out of the red hot bar. It's just really, really kind of disturbing. Planking is a wooden board, so And it says, "So with our brand, we've made a hole in it." Ugh, poor Cyclops. I mean, I know he kind of had it coming, but ugh. So, all right. In a smithy, one sees a white hot axe head, or an adze, I guess, cutting tool used by carpenters. Okay, plunged and wrung in a cold tub, screeching steam, the way they make soft iron hail and hard. So he's just strong, just describing how you might see a blacksmith like you know, make a sword or something. How they heat up the metal, and then they put it the hot metal into water, and you get the steaming. That's the comparison he's making here. Just so that eyeball hissed around the spike. The Cyclops bellowed, and the rock roared round him, and we fell back in fear, clawing his face. He tugged the bloody spike out of his eye, threw it away, and his wild hands went groping. Then he set up a howl for Cyclopes, who lived in caves on windy peaks nearby. Some heard him, and they came by divers way to clump around the outside and call. So he's screaming, right? And then the other Cyclops on the island, they hear him, and they come running down to his cave. And remember, the slab is still blocking the entrance, so they're standing outside the cave. What ails you, Polyphemus? Why do you cry so sore in the starry night? You will not let us sleep. Sure, no man's driving off your flock. No man has tricked you, ruined you. So, to whom does Polyphemus call for help after he has been blinded by Odysseus and his men? Okay, he's calling out to the other Cyclops on the island, and they come running to see if he's okay. So, at least they do that. They don't ignore his cry for help, but at the same time, they kind of don't investigate when why he's crying. Out of the cave, the mammoth Polyphemus roared in answer, Nobody, nobody's tricked me, nobody's ruined me. To this rough shout, they made a sage reply, well, if nobody has played you foul, there in your lonely bed, we are of no use in pain, given by great Zeus. Let it be your father, Poseidon Lord, to whom you pray. Well, this is interesting. First of all, now we see how Odysseus's little lie about his name actually benefits him. I don't know if that's coincidence or what, but it works, right? They're like, who's in there bothering you and who's causing you pain? And he's like, nobody, nobody's ruined me, nobody's tricked me. And they're like, well, nobody's in there bothering you. What's the problem? But then they say this. Let it be your father, Poseidon, Lord, to whom you pray. Poseidon? Your father? What? Let's see what we got here. All right, the Cyclops are saying that they cannot help him if his pain is caused by Zeus or fate. They suggest that he appeal to his father, Poseidon, the god of the oceans. Uh-oh. Odysseus just blinded Poseidon's son. Cyclops is the son of Poseidon. What were the chances? And sometimes, you got Odysseus didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all, right? Okay, so I'm gonna stop this video right here. There will be a third one. This is just a good stopping point, give you a break, give you time to, you know, think about what we just read. If you need to go back and look at it yourself. So I'll stop here and I will continue and finish the story with a part 3. Looking forward to it.